So Mike and Bonnie Quinn live in Tucson, Arizona, and I will tell you, I live all the way across the country, and at the time when we met, I lived even further north, and so how we met is just crazy. We met through a Gold Star organization, and I was doing my Living Through Grief on Purpose, a type of sort of a fragment of my 3-day seminar for Living Through Grief on Purpose seminar for Gold Star families. And Mike and Bonnie have done an amazing amount of work prior to me knowing them. And Mike's going to tell you all about that. But prior to us meeting and becoming dear friends, just amazing what these people do. And so welcome, Mike and Bonnie.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
You can tell by Mike's accent that he's from deep Alabama. And and Bonnie, when she's
South Philadelphia part of Alabama.
Yeah, the South Philadelphia part of Alabama. And Bonnie is from another part of deep Alabama called what did you say, Bonnie? What side is it?
The other side of the tracks.
Yeah, the other side of the tracks, of Philadelphia. So
She was from Newtown Square, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Newtown Square. I remember that now. So I'm just honored to have met you, and I really appreciate. Look, these two people are some of the busiest people I've ever known. Mike is an executive with lots of irons in the fire, very high level executive, doing great things. He and Bonnie founded a company that was phenomenally successful, and now they are doing. I suspect they've been giving people for their whole life, and especially their time together. But I would say this: they're two of the most giving, generous people looking to push their own grief and give, and that's what the title reflects here of this podcast. So, Bonnie and Mike, what in the world prompted you to do Rockin' for Heroes?
Well, our son PJ, who passed away in July of 2020 at the age of 29, he was diagnosed with osteosarcoma when he was 16 years old, which is a very aggressive form of bone cancer. And that journey of remission and recurrences went on for 13 years. And there were good years and a lot of bad years as well. And he inspired us with his spirit and his attitude through that. And the loss itself was massive when it happened. It was unexpected because he was fighting so hard for so long. So coming out of that shocking grief, we just realized there was something we needed to do with that was going to help heal our hearts and make a difference.
Tell us about PJ. Now I know him. I knew him because he was still with us when we met, and what a character! Holy moly!
Yeah, he was a young man. He loved the outdoors. When we moved from Philadelphia to Arizona in 1998, he was only 6, 7 years old, and our daughter was 2. Emily was 2. And so he grew up here, but his roots were in Philadelphia. He was a big Eagles fan. I mean, the big Eagles fan.
He was an Eagles fan.
You could not question him about the team or any player or any stat. He knew them all. He wrote about it. He was passionate about that. We went back many games. And he was a very kind person. I think, we know that when the Lord presents us with tragedies or tragic situations or puts hurdles in our way, I really believe it allows us to open our hearts. And his heart was wide open. And he was working with, it's ironic, when he was 16 years old, this cancer, which was a pediatric cancer, he was treated in the pediatric oncology wing at the hospital with all these 5-year-olds, 3-year-olds, and 7 and 10-year-olds.
Mm.
Most of them that contracted osteosarcoma would contract it when they were 11, 12, something like that, a late bloomer, if you will, in that. But he would serve all these kids. He would help these kids. He wound up teaching them. In the end, to finish his degree, he had to have a do an internship with student teaching, and actually the university and the hospital got together and allowed him to finish his degree by tutoring all the kids in the wing.
Wow.
And it's very humbling to be in in those in those hospitals with those children that are literally dying around you, and you meet them one week and you go back the next and they're not there.
Mm.
He loved doing that. It changed him as a person. He made a big difference to those kids. He was going through the same treatments they were going through. So he encouraged them and inspired them, and he loved them. They loved him, and it was a beautiful symbiotic relationship. But it changed him and took him outside his self. Anytime you would ask him how he was doing through his illness, he could focus on what was positive in his life, and what he realized that he may not have if he hadn't gotten ill. And he would say, well, I'm living the dream. That was always his response. I'm
Yeah, I
living the
see
dream.
it. I see it right there.
Living the
And,
dream.
and that we carry that with us every day.
Yeah.
And if he could live his dream through such a difficult situation, then we can certainly carry that on for him.
And
Wow.
when he was younger, his passion for the outdoors and hunting and fishing. We went a few trips to Alaska and fished for salmon, and he loved that. I'll tell you a funny story. We would go back to Alaska, and I'd say, well, let's go to a different part this year, son. He goes, no, Dad, let's go back to the same place, Kenai Peninsula. We're going to fish the Kenai River.
We catch
I go,
fish
well,
there.
there's a bunch of other, no, we catch fish there. We're going back to the same river. And every year we went back to the same river, the Kenai. But anyway, all that passion that he had got shifted into these kids at the hospital and people around him, and he just showered everyone with love. He gave me so much. He taught me about courage. I mean, courage. It's and it was just an amazing journey. And we were blessed to have a very strong church group, and a lot of people that came around us. We all prayed. We were praying for a miracle. We kept praying for the miracle. We said, and then towards the end, we thought, Lord, take him or save him. Lord, take him or heal him. And as Bonnie always said, well, he did.
He took him and he healed him.
Yeah.
We believe strongly. That's what carries us forward.
Aw.
So anyway, we came away from that, and we were blessed to get referred to some grief counseling through our church, and we worked with an ordained minister, and we did a lot of hard work. It was a lot of hard work, and I remember the drive to their first appointment, and Bonnie was like, I think it's too early. It's only been 4 months since he passed away, or 3 months, or whatever it was. And I don't know that we should be doing any of this. And I said, well, there's no obligation. We're just going to talk this one session. And before we left that session, she's like, okay, I need 2 books. When's the classes? And Bonnie was all,
resonated with me.
Yeah. And we were blessed. It was a wonderful program. And it was an international protocol on grief, which I didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
And you mentioned how we met, Sean, and how God prepares us for our future. We were working in these Gold Star workshops. First of all, I'm a Navy veteran, and I've always thought it was important to look after. I've been blessed. We've been both blessed. We moved to Arizona, and we're very successful in our business. God's blessed us tremendously. We know we need to give back, but I still have this Philly in me that I would always be like, well, does this organization or this, entity, deserve, is deserving of my support, of our support? Should we support this organization? And when Bob Huff came to me in 2006, I guess it was '05 or '06, after his daughter was killed in Iraq, and said he was looking for money to help distribute the album that he wrote to his daughter as a musician, I couldn't say no. The questions, all those questions went away. All that cynicism went away. Any gold star that needs support, I think we know the old saying, is when the government hands them the flag, the folded flag, they're out, and that's it. And they have no other support systems. Very few support systems. There's a number of them that are out there, including the one that we work with, Honor and Remember, other organizations. And there's a tremendous amount of organizations that are out there supporting them. And I think it's important that Americans support those organizations. Anyway, coming out of all of that, we thought about, how could we help this, and say thank you appropriately. And we all know what we see on the news about people protesting the police and protesting first responders or shooting at them and all these horrible things. And we said, well, geez, we know, we support our first responders. We support them strongly. They were here every day. In the end, when our son, the last 6 months or 7 months of his life, when it went to his brain, he was having seizures once a week, once every other week. They even did the brain surgery and removed the tumor, but he was still having seizures. And I remember one time calling the doctor and saying, "Doctor, he seems to be okay now, but he did have a seizure." He said, no, you call 911. Well, I don't have to tell you, when you call 911, they all come. Police, fire, paramedics, they all come. And they got to be very, they were here quite often. We got to know quite a few of them. And they were very loving and kind and very patient. And even the day he passed, that they supported us.
Yes. And the day that PJ passed, the moment he passed, we called some dear friends from our life group at church, and they live in our neighborhood, and we asked them to please come to the house and pray with us. And PJ's was still there at that point, and PJ's wife Katie was there, and Emily was there, and they came and they prayed over PJ with us. And I have to say that was a powerful sealing moment in our friendship. I mean, not too many friends would go through that for you, because that's a difficult. They're parents and they know what we were going through, so that was powerful. But what I want to say also is that as we worked our way through our grief, we always knew that we wanted to say thank you to these first responders, the paramedics especially. PJ went to school with one of them. He graduated high school with one of them, and he was there the day that PJ passed. And it was, I'll tell you in a couple minutes about that, what he said to us later. But it was strongly on our heart to thank these first responders, and we didn't know what that looked like. We were going to I was going to bake cookies, and we were going to take them around to the fire stations. And
she's a good baker, as you know, Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
20 pounds worth, probably, I would say, on me of the cookies and everything.
Really, that was not enough. That was not enough.
Yeah.
And on our heart, being part of that, helping the Gold Star community before we lost PJ, somehow we knew, we must have known, God put us there for a reason with those people, and they've become dear friends to us, and they understand our journey, unlike anyone else that hasn't lost a child. So that's a beautiful thing to have those people as friends. But we decided that we needed to do something bigger to thank these people. And we're big veteran supporters. We're supporters of Gold Stars. We love our active military, our first responders. There's actually 4 groups that we wanted to say thank you to: first responders, active military, veterans, Gold Star families. So
that's where the 4 came from. It's not rocking. It's not rocking FOR heroes. It's rocking 4 heroes, because those are the 4 hero groups we honor each year.
So we decided, okay, we got to do something we didn't know what it was going to be yet, but it was going to be more than baking cookies. So at the same time, we were trying to figure that out. A group that we followed and liked very much, Leonid and Friends, we had seen them play in Phoenix, and we wanted to get them to Tucson to play. And they kept Mike called their agent, and they said, we don't have anything open at all, nothing at all for the next, try next year. And Mike just kept emailing him and calling him, and this, he just wouldn't. He's relentless when he digs in about something. And finally, the agent called him and said, "Hey, we had a cancellation on the last stop of our tour. Do you want us to come to Tucson?" And we were like, "Heck yeah, come!" We didn't even know what that meant. Were we going to have a party at our house and have them play here? We were just clueless at that point. But God moved in our lives, and Bob Huff was already in our life. And when he realized that we were thinking of doing something with his band and try to correlate it with saying thanks to these 4 hero groups, he said, I know who to put you with. And he put us with Steve Rakowski, who's now our executive producer. He produced or assistant produced 4 Super Bowl halftime shows with Up With People. And he became who enabled us to take this concept and make it into a professionally staged event. And that's how we started Rockin' for Heroes. We had our first event 2.5 months later. We had 800 people that we were able to pull together for it. And we're coming up on our 4th year now. We had nearly 3,000 people at last year's event. We've seen it grow and flourish. We've refined our mission statement from, our intention is to stage a free public concert and bring as many people as we can to thank these hero groups and to celebrate them. And now we've shifted a little on our mission to include families and get as many people there as we can, because we want to encourage young people to consider these very selfless careers and who otherwise may not be. And we know that police departments are, they don't have as many recruits as they used to. And so we set up hero booths so that they can recruit or just introduce themselves to the community and the crowd. And we do a 30-minute tribute on stage before the concert even starts, where we open in prayer. Someone sings the national anthem. We say the Pledge of Allegiance. We present the colors. We had a jet flyover.
2 jet flyover.
We honored last year. We honored 200-year-old World War II veterans that were present at the event. It was so powerful. Wow. So
let me go over the business side. So we created our own official 501c3. We're all volunteers. We do have corporate expenditures with accountants and tax and permitting and all that, insurance. But what we found was that as much as we wanted to come around, Bonnie and our personal desire to thank those who selflessly served our son, that we found that there was others in the community who want to do so as well. And that's why we were adamant about keeping this event free and at no cost. That we wanted anyone that wanted to come forward and to say thank you, that they could do it. At the end of the day, that's what Rockin' for Heroes is. It's simply thank you. It's thanking all those who serve us, who serve our communities, our state, and our country. Each year we raise funds through private donations and or business donations to the 501c3, and we stage the event. And each year we've had excess funds that we donate. We zero out the account and donate all the excess funds to organizations who support our hero groups in one way or another. Last year we sponsored Dogs for Vets. It's an organization that trains dogs for veterans with PTSD, and we sponsored about 10 veterans to have their dogs trained. We also, the other organization was a primary. 2 of our primary beneficiaries was a police chaplaincy program, where they create chaplaincy programs for police organizations throughout Arizona, Strength and Shield. If folks go to our website, if you go to Rockin' for Heroes, no G, Rockin' for the number 4 heroes.org, you'll see a video overview of last year's event, what it's about. and bring a chair and bring your heart, and we have a great time, and we honor all those that serve us.
And this year, we last year it was 98 degrees the day of our concert. It was, and it's outside, so it was brutal. So this year we decided to push it later into the season, and we realized, wow, Veterans Day weekend, what a perfect time to honor our veterans, active military, for all of them on that weekend. So it'll be cooler. It'll just be perfect time to do it. So we're really excited about this year. We get excited about every year as we watch it grow and we see more people embracing the mission behind it, and they're grateful to have this venue to come out and say thank you to all these people that we don't necessarily, we're not aware of them throughout our lives until we need them, right? And then, boy, they're right there. Regardless of your political ideology or how you feel about police, you call them, they come. And that's the bottom line. And we need to be grateful and celebrate these people. And our hope is that we can influence people to just be more aware of them and show more gratitude to them. Yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
important.
You know, if it's any relevance to you, and I'm sure it is, I'm confident your son is in heaven with our Father in his within his renewed body, and is just filled with joy. And it's a wonderful feeling knowing that. And
Yes.
that's just my opinion. And it's
But
it's something I look forward to.
and God put so many things in our life, so many people in our life today that have come into our life and that are close to us today, and because of that loss. And so we never know what God's plan is for us. We never know. And who would have known when I the pessimistic guy from Philly was was being asked by a friend of a Gold Star if I would help this organization back in 2005, 2006. And that started a journey of us realizing that these Gold Stars sacrifice their children, their parents, their husbands and wives died for our freedoms. I, I, I can't say no to those people. And
Yeah.
we've come very close to those people throughout the years. But who knew that God was preparing us as we helped them with their grief? He was
Yeah.
helping, preparing us for our own. And
Everything happens for a reason.
amen.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Amen.
Well, I have to tell you, I have the privilege of being there and being able to see what happens um, at the concerts. And it's more than a concert. Let me just tell you that. It is unbelievable. The community coming together, all of the different groups that you honor being there, the food, the drink. It is so fun. It is so fun. And when I tell you there's people dancing, and I don't mean just a few people, I mean dancing. They are getting their boogie on to these bands. And I know who the band is this year, and I'm super excited. They're amazing. And, and I love that. And I know, that one of my greatest fears is having to experience what you have experienced, losing a child. I'm utterly terrified of it. Christopher has 4 children. I'm sure it's terrifying to him, and we do all we can to protect them. But what you've done, you've truly made your joyful lives a joyful living monument to PJ. And that is a massive blessing to literally thousands of people. And I can't speak for PJ, but I would bet that he is in heaven clapping, you go, mom and dad, come on, and probably wearing a Philadelphia Eagles shirt, you know,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
But I'm
I know how those Philly folks are, man. My brother, he will physically get in a fist fight over the Philadelphia Eagles. It's
yeah,
I've never seen anything like their fans. I was
Yeah.
never big into sports, so I didn't get it. But my family is from there. My brother, every game they go to a specific location, a bar, I forget what it's called, but it's only for Eagles, and Yeah, they get wound up watching the show.
Oh yeah.
He was very superstitious about, he had to be wearing the right hat, and he came to realize that they only ever lost if his wife was home. So I remember one time she was driving. He was living. They were living in our guest house, and I remember one time she was driving home, and she said, "Is it okay for me to come home?" He said, "No, turn around and keep going in the other direction. You can't come home."
That's
He
funny.
was legit. He was legit one of the biggest fans I've ever seen. I've never seen a fan of any team like him. It was just
Uh,
unbelievable.
well,
And,
The Philly fans, they're very unique.
Yeah.
There's not they are devout for those Eagles, and I've never seen anything like it. They take being a fan to a whole new level. They feel like they're a part of the team.
You bet.
and when they
You
won the
bet.
Super, when they won 2018,
Yeah.
is that right? No,
18. Yeah.
2018. Can't remember.
28.
But we were that was one of the happiest days of his lives. I
Oh
mean, to
yeah.
be able to experience that with him, we were so grateful that they pulled
Oh.
that off.
Oh,
And
hey, I remember texting back and forth with you guys. You know, just I thought PJ was just going to hit the ceiling. It's crazy. It was so fun. I'm glad he experienced that.
he
Well,
experienced a lot during his illness because he was
oh man.
determined. He was determined. He found the love of his life and married Katie during that time. All these wonderful trips to Alaska and
Yeah.
just he just embraced everything that he could. And we were fortunate we were able to make some of those things happen for him, financially. And yeah, it was just
Amazing. Amazing. What a story. And you know what I have to say, folks, they're getting up early out and well, they're up early anyway. They're get after it kind of people. But it's early there in Tucson, Arizona, and we can't thank you enough. I know our guests, um, personally, very personally, they're some of our dearest friends, Mike and Bonnie. They are rubber meets the road kind of people, and what they say that they're going to do, they do. And Mike is a hard driving executive that just gets stuff done. And Bonnie is that smiling face, the positive, just making friends everywhere she goes. And you're a massive blessing, not just to your area and to the people that attend there, but also just to everybody that gets the blessing to know you. And I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. I know you have stuff to do today, every day. You're busy people, but really and truly, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come on and bless us with this story.
Michael and Bonnie, I'd like to also help. Sean can tell you a little of what I do off air regarding one of my professions and what we do. So I think what you guys have going on will mesh nicely with some of the things I have going on, and Sean can fill you in on that.
That sounds great.
You bet.
Yeah.
Thank you
We
so
have
much for
some more
joining us.
time. Are we
What's
almost
that?
done?
Yes.
We're,
Almost done
Well,
here?
for your,
it's
you,
totally up
hey,
to it's
if you
it's totally
if
up
you
to
have
you
more to
guys.
say, hey, if you
Well,
have more to say, come on with it.
I'm good. You guys go as
yeah.
long as you
I
want.
was going to say, I think it's important that we realize that you know God puts all these things in our lives. So many people are on the sidelines, and so many people are closed up, or shut themselves down and shut out, stepped out of the game. My son fought and kept fighting when hospice came, and they said, "Well, you have to stop taking medication, and we'll just make you comfortable." He said, "No, I'm going to keep fighting." He refused. He refused hospice, and
Wow.
and maybe he's the chip off the old block.
Oh
And
yeah.
and and my point in that is that no matter where you are in life, and your listeners, or where you are in your life, God has a plan for you, and you have to keep fighting. The glass is always half full, no matter what.
Absolutely.
It has to be half full, and you
Amen.
It
have
is.
convince yourself, and you have to fake it till you make it. If you're not feeling that today, go talk to a friend, go talk to your pastor. But there are so many times in my life that I know that the challenges that were put in front of us, or that are put in front of me, that there's been good that's come out of it, and you just have
Absolutely.
to keep hanging in there and continue to pray. Continue to pray and have faith. The
Absolutely.
worst place we can be is between our own ears.
Yeah.
I'll tell this one funny story. I'll let Bonnie talk a little bit about it too. But I think it was last year's event, 2 years ago, event. I was parking my truck on. We put this event on two soccer fields, a double soccer field setup. Anyway, I was pulling my truck up. The event's about 20 minutes before it starts, and I wanted to move my truck into a different position to open parking spaces in the VIP lot. So I didn't want my truck there. So I parked over here, and out of the corner of my eye, I see this guy in uniform walking over to me, and I'm thinking, oh, it's a cop. He's going to give me a hard time about parking here, right? And he says, he says, Mr. Quinn? And I said, yes. And I turn around, I look at him, and he's in a fireman, an EMT, paramedic's outfit. I said, yes. And he goes, my name's Captain Brandon Daly. And I said, yes. How are you, Brandon Daly? And I'm looking at him, and I'm going, this guy looks familiar. And, and he says, I was there the day that your son died. And
he was PJ's
And he
classmate.
happened to be a classmate of my son in high school.
He'd been to our house several times.
And I said, listen, thank you. It's okay for me to park here.
Yeah.
and I grabbed him. I said, I want you to meet Bonnie. You have to meet Bonnie. So I close the door of the car and I grab him and I take him by the arm and I run out into the field, and she's at like the halfway. She's all the way down the other side. And I get to her, and she's in the middle of, finalizing this volunteer group and this volunteer group. We have about 68 volunteers to help put this event on. Anyway, and she's in the middle of it. And I had to say, Bonnie, and she's like, and she looks at me like with a smile, not now, not now, not Bonnie, now. I said, and anyway, and we wound up hugging together in the middle of this field, the three of us, and just thanking God for bringing him to us in that moment.
Amen.
Moment there, that you have to grasp those moments and take them when the Holy Spirit leads you.
He was able to let us know how traumatizing that day was for him, losing someone his age that he knew, and that he said he had struggled with that since that happened, and he was sharing that with us right in the middle of the field before the concert started, and he said, and I know how traumatized I was. I can't imagine what it was like for you guys, and yet here you are doing this to say thank you to us. He said, I can't even wrap my head around it. I just want to say thank you. And for us to be able to all like have a cry and hug right there in the field, it was like coming full circle with what our mission was. Here we could actually hug someone who had their hands on our son. And it was so powerful. It was such a God moment.
Wow.
We had lunch with him one time, another time. And each year we honor families of either our military fallen gold stars, or we honor fallen from our EMTs or fire. Sean, you were there when we honored that family of the young EMT that was shot and killed, young Jake Didinger, and we saw their parents the other day. And it's kind of that what most people think. They think, oh, geez, these people lost their son. Or these people, and it's, I don't want to look. Don't look. It's like an accident. Don't look. Mm-hmm. We don't want to look at that. We don't want to you need to go in there. You need to go in there and you need to love on them. Right. And we found that, help our God brought them to us. We honored them and their son's loss. Right. This young EMT was 18 years old. He was just out of school. He wanted to take this as a career and serve our community. And was tragically gunned down by a maniac. And we want, but we're able to get into their lives, and they saw some hope through us that, wow, we were in our second year, actually it was 1 year that we had lost our son, and this had happened to them 2 months ago. I want to tell you the story of how I met these people, and because this is how God works in our lives.
And humbles us.
I was driving across town one day, and Tucson, there's not a lot of freeways. We have Interstate 10 that runs outside of the perimeter. Other than that, you're on surface streets. So there's a number of ways that I can come north up towards our house. And I decided no on one and no on a second one, and I'm going to go all the way to La Cholla. And
You're all right. Go ahead.
I'm heading to the traffic light, the intersection at La Cholla, and just as I'm coming up, I see a motorcycle pull over and block the intersection, and a motorcycle pulls over and blocks the intersection the other way, and I'm thinking, geez, I hit a funeral. I hit a funeral procession. And then I'm thinking some family, and I'm thinking, that's going to slow me down. Now I'm going to be delayed now. I should have turned at the previous turn. And I didn't turn at the previous turn. What an idiot I am, right? And I had heard about this young man that had been shot on the news, but I didn't know he was in critical condition, EMT, and all this, and he didn't survive. And there was an ambulance came, and a hearse, and an ambulance, 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 and a fire truck, and police cars. And I went, oh my God, it's that young man. And that's when I knew that he had died, and they were taking him. They were taking him to the funeral home. And after it passed, I drove on and I called Bonnie. I'm a very emotional person, if you haven't figured that out. I get emotional about these things because I know God's working. And I drove up and I called Bonnie on the phone and I said, Bonnie, I think I saw he just passed. And I think they've taken him to the funeral parlor. So I thought, so I doubled back and went to the funeral parlor that I thought maybe that's where they were going. Sure enough, that's where they were. And I saw this, captain or something. It was full dress, fully dressed up, and the media's there and everybody at the funeral. And they're trying to keep him at bay, away from the family. You know what I mean? So the funeral hadn't started. They're just transporting his remains to the funeral parlor. And I just said something to him. I just said, listen, Captain, he's going up. He did a little interview, and then, they helped him over here, and then he went up, and I grabbed him, and I jumped over the wall, and I grabbed him, and I said, please tell the family that we care, that Tucson cares. Please tell the family that we're praying for them. Mm-hmm. Anyway, and through other events, now fast forward, 5 months later, 4 months later, we wanted to honor that family, and what God put on us was that we didn't want to honor them and just have a stranger show up at our event. Okay, we'll go through these channels, and someone knew someone at that EMT agency, at that agency that would make that connection with the family. Okay, that's all set. Yes, the family said they would like to be honored. Okay, well, something tugged at me. And so we want to meet the family beforehand. I wouldn't want to just have a stranger turn to me and honor. You know what I'm saying? So we made it a point to reach out to them and to meet them beforehand and to check in with them and help and hopefully help them with their healing. And it was just a blessing. So.
Oh, that's powerful.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Timing, God's timing.
All of this because we lost our son. All of this is God's glory and working in our son. We miss him dearly every day. But the amazing things that God's brought forward is just hard to quantify.
I want to tell you that there are many, 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 many people, hundreds of people in the live chat right now, and many of them have sent their condolences to you and their appreciation for what you do. Many of them have lost a child, and they're really expressing their their gratitude for what you do and how you do it and the grace that you do it. I know how hard you people work, and for you to, they always say, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. Give it to a person who's busy. Give it to and I know how hard you guys get after what you do and your business and all of the different things you do. So the fact that you do all these things and um, you you I've been with you guys when this event is happening, and it's like changing the lug nuts on a car going 55 miles an hour. It is just crazy busy. Paul Frederick, he gave me that the other night. He's a Minnesotan, and he said that to me. I said, "Boy, that's a good one. I'm going to use it." So I could give credit to him. And so changing the lug nuts on, you're that busy. I mean, it's unbelievable. And so people out there that think, hey, I can't do anything. I'm this. I've got this going on. Or maybe they're in the midst of grief. They can't seem to climb out of the grief. Doing for others. One of the things that I talk about in living through grief on purpose is doing for others, stepping outside of yourself, and in honor and memory of your lost loved one. So I can't thank you enough. I know that. The folks have been blessed. And this will be transitioned to a podcast. Obviously we're live now, but immediately after, for folks that didn't catch the first part, you can go back and listen to the first part. And I encourage you to do that because their story, Bonnie and Mike's story, is amazing. PJ's story is amazing. I have a living the dream pin, and of course I'm rocking the Rockin' for Heroes shirt, and I have a Rockin' for Heroes hat I wear all the time. And so we appreciate you. We want you to know that we appreciate you.
Sean,
Absolutely.
I want to add something here. You and I both know. You mentioned that there's others out there that are joined us that have lost a child or lost a loved one. And
Mhm.
if we go back to some of the Gold Star workshops that you and I were involved in, I was I was very I was shocked at how many of them said my son passed 5 years ago. I've never talked to anyone about it,
Mhm.
or past 3 years ago. I've never we learned in grief, in our grief counseling, we learned that we have to outwardly express our grief. We have to talk about it. We can't say, no, I'm doing, how you doing? Oh, we're doing okay. No, we're not doing okay. We're going
Mhm.
crazy. We're about to
Yeah.
lose our minds. We don't know what's going, our heads are going to explode, right?
Yeah.
And we can't, and we learned this simple statement to just say, we're working through it. We're
Together.
not fine. We're working through it together. That's that, and that is an honest statement because the mind will believe what you tell it. And if you
Yeah.
keep telling you're okay and you're okay and you're not, you're in trouble. You're going to be in big trouble,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And one blessing, my mom raised 6 kids by herself in West Philly and on teacher's salary. And the thing that she's my hero. She taught me pretty much everything I know. That and the Navy and her taught me everything I need to know. And her first inclination was if she didn't know something, she asked someone for help. And she would, if she didn't know how to paint a house, we had to paint a room in a new house we moved in. We went and learned how to paint a house or paint a room. And if she was lost, we didn't have GPS. She would stop and ask a stranger, I'm trying to get to so and so. And I learned that from my mother to ask for help. And
Mhm.
that's second nature to me. I've been blessed with that to ask for help. And I know a lot of people struggle with that. A lot of
Yeah.
men struggle with that they can't ask for help. They think that they're less of a man if they ask for help. I'm here to tell you that's wrong. And you need to open up and you need to share your grief. You need to share what keeps you up at night, what you think about in the darkest hours. You need to share that with another human being, with another Christian, preferably.
Amen. Amen. Thank you for that. Thank you for everything you guys do. I'm seeing people in chat. One dear lady lost her mother on Mother's Day. last Mother's Day, and so I know that is super tough. There's just so many clicking in, talking about their loss. Leilani lost. She's almost lost her older son and her daughter, and she had a stroke last week and a heart attack a couple of years ago, and only 42 years old. There's a lot of suffering in the world. There's a lot of folks that are going through stuff, and for you guys to say, "Hey, ask for help. Don't sit there and tell people you're okay." It's like that old walking down the street, or even in church. We do it in church. How you doing? How you doing? We answer with, "How you doing? How you doing?" You know, how you doing? How you doing? It's just repeating the question, and it doesn't answer anything. So getting engaged and being willing, and loving and caring enough, and being the light of Christ to say, "Hey, you don't look like you're doing so great," or "How can I help you? What can I do?" Or just going to a grieving family's house, maybe washing the dishes, maybe getting a grocery list and running and getting up some groceries in the house, or just sitting with them, and even crying with them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things. I give a lot of tips on it. I have to do a whole presentation on what to do if you know somebody who has lost somebody, and maybe at some point I'll do that. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. I have one more thing after we let you go, but we sure appreciate what you do, folks. Rockinforheroes.org. Rockin', no G, for, not FOUR, but for, the number four, heroes.org. I'm telling you, there's a video there. Have your tissues, but also have your joy, because you're going to be so happy when you watch this. It's really powerful. And I've been there to experience it. And I know that it's one of the most amazing events I've ever been privileged to go to. Bonnie and Mike, thank you so much. We really
Thank
appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. Thank
Hey
you
You
guys,
both.
bet.
thank you so
God
much for
bless
coming
you.
out, Michael and Bonnie.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. It means a lot to me, and to hear your testimony, it's very special and touching. And Sean is going to give you my contact information. I would like to connect outside of the show. I have some ideas on how to help as well. But you have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for coming on the show.
You
thank
as
you.
well. And
We
I would
appreciate
just
it.
one parting word I'd like to say to your audience that if there's no public demonstrations of thanks to those that serve in your community, get involved to create something.
Yeah.
Those people need to know that we support them. Our
Yeah.
first responders need to know that you appreciate them. Just when you're driving down the road, wave to them. If they're on the side of the road with the radar detector, wave at them. Toot your horn, wave at them. Let them know you support them. They don't know that. They
And
don't know
use
we.
all your fingers. Use all your
That's right.
fingers.
That's
Not
right.
not just your
Uh,
angry finger.
That's right.
Thanks again. We appreciate you guys.
If you see them in the grocery store, we see the firefighters
All the time.
grocery
We thank
shopping
them all the
for
time.
their stations all the time. I always go up to them and thank them for their service, and tell them,
Yeah.
you guys, we do what we do because of what you've done for us. So it's important to let them know. They need to
Amen.
know. It's
That's
important.
right.
Absolutely.
You bet. You bet.
Adios.
All right.
All right.
Take
Bye,
Thank
care.
you.
guys.
Bless you
Booyah.
guys.